फिलहाल में रिलीज हुई है एक ऐसी फिल्म जिसे ऑडियंस बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद कर रही है, हाउसवाइफ्स बहुत ज़्यादा रिलेट कर रही हैं, औरतों और वर्किंग वुमेन को भी वो बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद आ रही है क्योंकि सारी रियल लाइफ स्टोरीज जो हैं हमें उसमें देखने को मिल रही हैं। मैं बात कर रही हूँ फिल्म मिसेस की, जिसमें सानिया मल्होत्रा में नजर आई। और आज मिसेस के प्रोड्यूसर और को राइटर हरमन बावेजा हमें ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं ऑन ज़ूम। वेलकम।
थैंक यू सो मच।
सो मिसेस को मिल रहा है बहुत सारा प्यार
जी।
एंड इंस्टाग्राम पर भी, फेसबुक पर भी रील्स वायरल हो रही हैं
जी।
कि यार तो बहुत ही रियल स्टोरीज दिखाई हैं, चाहे हम गरम फुल्के की बात करें, मिक्सी या सिलबट्टे की बात करें। सो हाउ आर यू रिसीविंग दिस ह्यूज रिस्पांस?
I think honestly I'm very grateful क्योंकि when you start something, जब पहली बार I remember when I had seen the original the Great Indian Kitchen by Geo Baby. I remember watching it with my sister and my wife. I just got married about 6 months back, and three of us sat down and saw the film. And I remember finishing the film late at night and saying that, dude, this is a story that needs to be told. I come from a very typical Punjabi family.
Yeah.
On both sides, if I was to actually put a number, I have about, I think, 17, 18 cousin sisters. And we're all very thick. Like, we have these two strong family groups where we are constantly, at any point, there'll be a message. If I see my phone right now, there'll be some message. And, I'm very close to the families, right? And you've seen parts of this, you've seen these challenges that they have gone through. And then, of course, they've evolved with time. So I think when I kind of set out to say, okay, I want to make this film and I want to adapt it, in Hindi and see if it can, be seen by many more people, and hopefully do justice to the original. I think the intent there was very clear that this film should create a conversation, right? And there'll always be perspectives, And eventually today, when the film has that, when I kind of, scan through Instagram
or
Reels or
Facebook,
Facebook or Twitter or just general articles or, so many snapshots of so many different groups where people are having conversations like friends, literally like friends when they're sitting overseas. And they keep talking about it and they keep sending me, bro, there's chat about this, or hey, there's my doctor's group is talking about the film, from my cousins. And it's so overwhelming because, when I set out to make it, that was the intention, that the film should have a conversation after the film is over. Let it not end when the film ends, and so grateful that it's happening today, and I think, kudos to all of us.
Recently on Instagram, कि husbands are saying कि अब हमें नहीं चाहिए गरम फुल्के. They are so scared of the climax.
I actually think, of course, it's all good and fun and jest, but I think, effectively, what the essence of the film is not talking about whether you should get the meal or not. It's just about creating an environment of respecting each other for what they bring to the table. You mentioned housewives. And that is an equally challenging job. And I believe that, having everything. So it's about creating that balance. I think in life in general, whether it's your house help, or it's your boss, if you can respect everyone along the way, I think life would be very different for everyone. So I think that's the core essence of why, I feel this film is out there and
is appealing.
And I'm hoping that's what people are kind of taking away from it, Yeah.
I agree. And again, talking about the casting, Sanya Malhotra, Kamaljeet hai. So what was the idea behind casting Sanya Malhotra? Why only Sanya Malhotra and why not any other actress? We've seen her in a lot of Girl Next Door.
Yeah, I would say, I would actually say the question the other way around. Why not Sania Malhotra?
Okay.
I think she was just...
you had the first... आपने रिचा को conceptualize किया तो सानिया ही थी मन में?
Absolutely, from the word go. Sania was... I'd always known that she had loved the original and, she was very keen, and I think she is a phenomenal talent, and I think that's... we've always known she's been a very, very good actor. I feel Mrs. has kind of just put that out, out in the open much more strongly than it ever was. And, I couldn't be happier. I think she's one of the nicest... I don't want to use the word actors. I just want to say one of the nicest people that I have interacted and worked with, so forthcoming, so honest to her craft and so level-headed, right? It was always about playing Richa, and being honest to Richa. And not being honest, just being honest to Richa, not about, I'm Sania Malhotra and I'm playing Richa, and you kind of love that when you see that in an actor, And I think we've done so many of these meetings initially with, Sanya and Arti and from my team there was Tasneem and Smita, and we would sit down and just keep chatting about the film, discussing, and that's what kind of created this amazing fluidity of thoughts, and being I would always joke I was the only guy in the room, right? So and I think that kind of just helps to give a perspective, right? And it's important to kind of create that balance in the film. And yeah, man, I think Sania has just added those that extra layer of performances, the nuanced performance that she brings to the table. I think Kawaljeet ji was someone, I think it was just he's always been someone you love, and he's got decades of amazing work behind him. But just to have him play this part where he's such a loving, you've always loved Kawaljeet ji in everything you've done, he's always this man you really like.
Every time he was pinpointing, it was looking okay.
Exactly, and the intent was always to kind of get an actor who you don't expect this from, and because if you've seen the film, right, there's no one shouting in the film, there's no one screaming in the film, it's all done very subtly. So and that's always a little more intense, when someone shouts at you, you get the opportunity to give it back. When someone doesn't, it's so challenging. How do you fight someone who's so calm and composed but still making a point so strongly that there is no way around it, And I think Kawaljeet ji brought that. I think Nishant brought that, as Diwakar, and he was he's so charming. You just look at me and say, yaar, ye to good looking munda hai, charming ladka hai. He's such
very
a fine,
also.
Exactly. And then those layers start seeping out slowly through the film. And I think the way the way it pans out in the film, it's I think, man, I'm so blessed. Sometimes some things just come together, and this film is probably one of those.
Absolutely. So I have to tell you this. So my parents don't watch much of an OTT, and I told them कि Z5 पे आइए आप देख लो. So they said वही होगा, crime, action, मारधाड़. But then when I told them, they said क्या बड़ा अच्छा concept, and they could also relate to it. So talking about, like, since you mentioned you were the only guy in the room, there was Arti, who was the director.
Of course.
आपने you're the co-writer as well.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you कि how was the experience of collaborating with so many women first of all, and collaborating with Arti. और जब आप इसे लिख रहे थे तो कहाँ पे आप इससे relate कर पाए?
But I mean, Anu Singh Chaudhary is obviously, a veteran writer. So it was Anu, myself, Aarti, and everyone else that sat along with us. I think for me to relate to this, I'll tell you something very simple. In my opinion, I feel where I'm very evolved, and I love to give respect to all the women in my life and all the men in my life, right? Till I meet someone who's probably far more evolved than I am, and then I look and say, oh, wait a minute. I still have room to improve and grow, and it's only about understanding each other. It's about creating that fine balance, right? And respecting each other for what each one brings to the table. So I think, being being the guy in the room, somewhere you had that responsibility also to kind of create the balance. But it was amazing to hear so many perspectives, and each perspective is so unique. Every house has a unique story. And I don't think Mrs. is something that, as a film, when you watch and you say, ye mere ghar ki kahani hai, but there are parts of the film which some part of the film will relate either to you, or hey, I've seen my mom go through this, or I've heard my sister, I've heard my friend, or hey, I'm going through this. And the same goes for the men, right? That hey, I've seen this, or hey, maybe that one action is something that even I do, but I don't realize it. So I think it's just about starting that little conversation. It's about starting that thought process, But on the face of it, you have to make a film that is engaging, is entertaining, for it to eventually drive the message home, right? If it is purely message driven and preachy, I feel it doesn't really travel that far. So I think the challenge in the room was always to constantly make sure that we make a very engaging film, so that the theme of what we are really trying to say travels, And I think hats off to everyone, from Anu to Aarti to Sanya to literally all the HODs, Prerna, the editor, everyone. I mean, honestly, everyone put this together, and we're here.
Absolutely. So, Harman, which role do you enjoy the most? You are an actor, you're a producer, now you're a co-writer as well. सबसे ज़्यादा challenging क्या है? सबसे ज़्यादा आप enjoy किस में करते हैं? आपको हमने स्कूप में भी देखा, and audience loved it, और सबने बोला यार कहाँ थे इतने सालों से आप? And it was so good to watch it. So आप कौन सा role enjoy करते हैं?
Honestly, I think whatever I'm doing at a given point, I'm loving that. Right? That's me by nature.
Like live in the present.
I'm literally that guy. Like, I'll be honest, I'm doing this interview, I'm really enjoying it. I will switch out of this and I will get into something else, and then I will put my heart and soul and my 100%.
Still, I mean, there's something that being a producer, thoda sabki responsibility,
I would think producing is probably if I had to pick, it would be probably the most challenging job of all three of them, right? Also, to a great extent, I feel it's probably the least gratifying job as well. Amongst everything, because when you talk about scoop, right? So love the love, all due credit to all the co-actors and Hansel. But again, the how would I say it? Like, I think as a producer, it's the least gratifying. I'm sure you understand that, right? But I love producing because I can tell stories like this, and
as an actor.
As an actor, you enjoy it.
Extremely gratifying.
It is. But hey, there's always a flip side. You mess up, and then you're done and dusted. And I've been through that journey. When things haven't fallen into place, and then you're facing, and then rightfully so, right? Because if you're going to expect the love when you do good work, you got to be prepared to not get the love when your work is not up to the mark. So I think an actor's life is a little more challenging in terms of what one has to face on the outside. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there. That way, from that perspective, it's great being a producer because you're kind of hidden in your little office bubble and you're not really in the front of it. So I think they come with their pros and cons. Writing is what I love the most. If I talk about just pure love, I enjoy writing as the I believe half the reason why I'm a producer is because I enjoy the process of writing and bringing to life stories, characters, understanding psychology. It's just it's a fun job, man. I think I'm most excited when we've cracked a great scene, and I'll walk home and literally now my wife, she's not from the business at all, and I'll walk home and she'll look at me and I'll walk in a good mood and she's like, "You cracked a good scene today, didn't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know?" She goes, "Because that's the only time you walk in like it's amazing, Otherwise, to kaam chal raha hai, you're at it, you're going through the grind." So yeah.
Okay, so Harman, a lot of people, we keep checking the YouTube also, and this is what I read somewhere on your interview. आप limelight से बहुत दूर रहते हैं, your family also stays away little from the limelight. ऐसा क्यों है? Like you like to keep it a little low profile, you don't enjoy it much or what?
No, I don't know. I just think I maybe speak my mind too clearly sometimes, and it may not necessarily be the right thing to do. Also I'm kind of very happy in my space of being in my office, sitting in my room, chilling with my kids, my family, my friends, and I'm actually very happy in that space, to be very honest. Which is why I've stayed, for me, I see people on social media and I'm like, hats off to them. Okay, how do they manage that, right? Because, they're posting, they're putting together such amazing images, they're making these reels, and it takes a lot of creativity, a lot of effort to get it. Yeah, and time to get it right, I don't think I have the mindset or the aptitude to pull that off, I don't, we're doing this interview and this is just about where I'm happy.
Okay.
Anything more than this, I'm like, yeah, ज़्यादा हो गया. Let's go back to work.
Okay, I understood.
Yeah.
एक survey के according ऐसा मैंने पढ़ा.
जी.
That married men are very happy, but married women are not happy. यानी कि शादी औरतों के लिए थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम ज़्यादा लेकर आती है, लेकिन आदमी on an average ज़्यादा खुश रहते हैं. आप इस बात से इत्तेफाक रखते हैं? Do you think like when you got married, life changed upside down and everything happened for good?
Yeah, I mean, listen, touch wood, God's been kind. I'm very happy. I'm hoping my wife is very happy. At least that's what I can see and tell, and those are the words that I hear, not just from her but from her friends as well. But I think if you're telling me that's a stat, it kind of further emphasizes why Mrs. is out there today, right? I think it is challenging for it's also the conditioning for any person to leave their home to come into another home. Every home has a way of working. Every home has its own dynamics, right? And you end up, marriages, quintessentially speaking, marriage is not just about two people, right? It's about two families. But the larger exchange comes through the woman, right? Because she's the one who has to uproot herself, right? While obviously, a woman is conditioned from childhood to know that, that eventually I'm going to get married and I'm probably going to move out, you know.
So she's mentally prepared.
She is mentally more prepared than a guy. Like if you asked me today to move out, I would just be like taken aback because I'm not mentally prepared for it.
Yeah.
But having said that, I don't think any kind of preparation can prepare you for an absolutely, new life. Having said that, it's a new life for the man as well, because he's sitting at home and now he's, he has a wife and he has an existing family, and then there are new dynamics at play that he has to balance.
To take care of.
Right. So I think, it's evolution on both sides. It is challenging, but I think if I go back to what I was saying earlier, if there is mutual respect for what each one brings to the table, you'll figure everything along the way. If there is no mutual respect, whether it's for what the man is fending on the outside and bringing home, and he faces his challenges, and what the woman is doing, if she's working and balancing the family, or if she's not working, then what she's bringing to the family. If you respect this, I think more often than not, you'll end up having
I think both can be happy.
a happy marriage. and that's what the end goal is for marriage, right? Is to create a beautiful family.
Family, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. So talking about your Bollywood journey, 2018 आपकी debut film Love Story 2050 release हुई. And 2025 में the world of AI, ChatGPT, robots. So do you think if Love Story 2050 would have released in 2025, things would have been a little different?
I think we would have a different film also.
But still, science fiction se everybody is more familiar with all these AI concepts and all.
See, it's my first film. It's something that my mother produced, my sister worked on it so closely, I worked on it, my dad directed it. So there's an emotional attachment to the film. But, if I was to be very honest and candid, I don't personally think that any film is ahead of its times. I think a good film will always get an audience. And if a film does not resonate with an audience, it probably missed something in that, right? And I think if one was to release 2050 today, I don't know if it would still resonate with people or not, because we've not released it, so we wouldn't know. But I do feel the film would require to be, addressed again and understand what actually went wrong with the film. So I'm a very strong believer that a good film will always have an audience, and if it doesn't, it's I think a lot of times we're so attached to a film, you're so close to a film that you tend to say, okay, maybe the audience missed a point, or maybe it was ahead of its times. There are so many films that have been ahead of their times, and hence they have created new genres or have become path-breaking, right? Otherwise, we would not have path-breaking films. We wouldn't have cult films. The reason we have them is because they are ahead of the time. They break barriers. So I think, we've got to strive to make better film.
I agree. Okay. Yeah. But though I liked Love Story 2050.
Yeah, listen, I enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
But of course, there is room.
I enjoyed the songs Milo Na Milo.
That
was
a good song.
Popular.
Yeah.
So again, agar hum baat kare, it's a trend of re-releases going on.
Yes.
And so if given a chance, if you have to pick one of your film, कि यार ये अभी अगर re-release होगी तो audience के जरिए ज़्यादा पहुँचेगी, तो वो कौन सी होगी? What's your Rashi, Love Story 2050, Dishkyau, Victory?
Tough question. Haven't thought about it.
Still. Though I also enjoyed What's Your
Rashi?
And the songs were really
cool. I would say it would be a coin flip between Rashi and 2050. I think between the two. Though if I had to release, I'd rather release some of the films we produced in the past, like Dilwale Dil Jale. I feel they'll have a larger audience today.
No, but I'm talking about like...
No, I understand what your questions, but I'm just saying, I think maybe 2050 or Rashi, maybe one of those two.
What's Your Rashi के गाने तो बहुत ही
of course
popular हुए थे.
No, it was a pleasure working with Ashu sir and Sunita ma'am. I think a great duo, and Ashu sir is a phenomenal filmmaker. Yeah.
Okay, so abhi talking about your upcoming projects as a producer, as an actor, if you want to share something, but audience is definitely keen to see you as an actor too.
Yeah.
Scoop ke baad to everybody's been waiting, so if you'd like to share a bit on that.
So honestly, nothing on the acting front. For me, I think the entire focus is on writing, producing, and putting these beautiful films out there. Hopefully beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. We've just seen the example.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, right? You kind of you deliver something good, and then you enjoy the success of it, and then the next thing you sit down and say, oh, okay, what's next now? How do I live up to that? But we have, we have a few, we've got Dil Ka Darwaza Kholna Darling, which Vikas Bail's directing. That's with, Jaya ma'am is in it. There's Siddhant, Mamika. It's a very cool, fun, breezy film with great music. There's a Boy from Andaman that we've tied up with Imagine Entertainment, and that's more skewed. It's an Indian story, but for a global audience with Richie Mehta bringing on his creative lens on the film. And then there are a few more things starting out. So been working.
There's a lot of stuff happening.
God is kind. The team has been at it. I think we've got a committed team in the office. I think it's finally coming all together, and we're excited. Yeah,
absolutely. So thank you so much for talking to us. It was lovely chatting with you, and thank you so much. And you've answered all my questions. I'm glad.
Okay. Thank you.